A report detailing ideas for action by the Security Council and the financial, technology and recruitment sectors to fight human trafficking in conflict was published by the United Nations University and supported by the governments of the United Kingdom and Liechtenstein. The report says there is growing evidence that extremist groups, including ISIS and Boko Haram, are reviving slavery and organizing slave markets. According to the report, ISIS militants in Iraq are thought to have enslaved over 5,000 women, children and men from the Yazidi religious minority in Iraq.
Certainly there is strong evidence that social media are being used to both recruit and trade enslaved Yazidi and other peoples. WhatsApp was recently used in a case of trading displaced Syrian women in Lebanon. We know that some of these companies are already being proactive to address this problem. For example, when an attempt was made by an Islamic State member recently to trade enslaved women, that information and offer were taken down within hours.
There are 45.8 million people living in modern slavery. No state is immune from these international crimes. We know that modern slavery crosses national boundaries, and so obviously countries need to work together to tackle it both domestically and in joint operations across the world. We also know that conflict creates an environment in which the worst elements can flourish. Daesh is conducting a campaign of violence and terror in Syria and Iraq and has carried out appalling atrocities against many communities, including Muslims, Yazidis and Christians. Boko Haram similarly are exploiting the instability of conflict to enslave people. Conflict situations increase the vulnerability of people, particularly women and girls, to being trafficked. Armed actors traffic civilians to perform tasks for their forces, including child soldiering, domestic labour and sexual servitude.
Meanwhile, Liechtenstein's UN Ambassador Christian Venavesser said human trafficking is also one of the big illegal business models that exist in the world.
Based on the fact that human trafficking is not just a human rights crisis, that it's also one of the big illegal business models that exist in the world. And this is something that we believe certainly needs to be addressed and also has a very, very direct link to armed conflict situations that some of the groups, especially that Matthew has referenced, use this as tools of their political economy of terrorism. What we believe is worth looking at in particular, and we also believe that nationally we can bring in a lot of our expertise, is the issue of financial flows, the issue of data sharing, and the possibility of having financial investigations in order to stop and disrupt these networks. Again.